I want to talk a little bit about the circle of what we know. If we think about what we know as being enclosed in a circle, this is everything that we know. And anything beyond that circle is what we don't know yet. Okay? I've had people ask me what an act of receiving is. What is an act of receiving? And it took me a while to come to a definition that was accurate enough that it wasn't going to limit what it could be for any one individual. And so I'm going to give the definition and then I'm going to talk about it within the context of this circle. Okay? So an act of receiving is a use of the will to increase your availability to what it is that you don't know yet. I'm going to repeat that. An act of receiving is a use of the will to increase your availability to what it is that you don't know yet. So if you think about the scope of what you know as being a circle, and everything else that you don't know is anything outside of that circle. And we've talked about signals blowing past you, and I know that in one of these clips we've talked about it. That's not completely accurate because that implies something that's linear, and it's not linear. It's sort of everywhere, and it's whether you tune into it or not. But I'm going to use the idea of it blowing past you and it being linear just to prove a point. Okay? So let's say I'm focused on what it is that I know. I'm focused on the circle, and I'm fixated on the circle. The signal, or the new thing, will blow past me, right? And I don't even see it because I'm focused here and it's doing this. Does that make sense? Okay? How do we give attention to the new thing when we don't know what it looks like? We have no context for the new thing to enter into our circle. What we need to do is, at risk of this sounding like a negative, we need to blur the lines of the circle, or increase the lines of the circle, so that whatever, if my focus is here, if whatever's blowing past, if the edge of the circle gets expanded just that little bit more, then I sense it. And I sense it just enough to raise my head and look, and to see what it is that, oh, something just blew past me. Okay? As the edge of the circle increases, that is increasing my availability to what it is that I don't know yet. When I increase my availability to what it is that I don't know yet, it enables me to receive it and take it into my circle. And I can choose. I may not like it. It may not be something that I want. I don't have to accept it. But I can give attention to it long enough to weigh it, to get a sense of whether or not I want it, whether or not it serves me. Do I want to bring it into the circle, or do I just want to bring it to the perimeter and play with it for a little while? Experiment with it before I bring it into my circle. That's part of the reason why I use the word permission. That an act of receiving typically starts with, I give myself permission to something more, something better, something different, something new. Okay? Because I don't know what that thing is. It may not even be a thing, but I'm just going to call it a thing. We may not know what that thing is. When I give myself permission to receive something better than, not to imply that what I've got sucks, but something better than what I've already got, which is the circle. Something more than what I've got, which is the circle. Something different than what I've got, which is the circle. The more, better, different, new, can you see how that sort of plays around the edges of the circle? But the something new is the something else. And it's about the baby steps. It's about giving myself that permission to receive that. We get so fixated on what we know. That's why I talked about, in one of the other clips, we talked about the law of gestation. You get fixated on this end result, and that might not be what's in your highest good. That may not be truly what is going to truly evolve you, take you to the next level. And let's talk about it in another way, because some people don't want that. Some people just like where they're at. How about just giving you something that is more full than what you already have? It doesn't have to be about going to the next thing and pursuing the next thing. It's not about having to. It's about not being satisfied. And that's why I wanted to talk about it in that sense, in the sense of the circle of what we know, because there's nothing wrong with what we know. It just tends to limit us. It puts a label on what could be, when what is beyond that can be that much more amazing, and that much, the possibility, that's where things start happening, that it's like magic. And I almost don't want to use that word, because it sounds so, I've had some people say, well, come on, Trae, let's get in the real world. This is the real world. We're just not taught that we get to play here, that we get to play in that kind of a sandbox. When things start coming to you, and people go, oh, well, that's just luck. That's just luck. Well, you know what the definition of luck is? It's where preparation meets opportunity. This is about preparation, so that when the opportunities come, when the signals come, you know how to give attention to them. You can choose or not. Just like the radio station and tuning into the radio, you can choose or not to tune in. And it can be like magic, because the answers start to come from somewhere else. And I'm biased. I can't think of a better way to live.